Hello and welcome to the Powerful Personal Brand Podcast, where I and my guests share tips to help and inspire you to build a great personal brand to increase your visibility and authority. I am your host, Claire Bond, and on today's episode, I am very excited to be joined by Jill Lublin. I want to talk to you about what role a person's personal brand has in getting publicity. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do think it's very important. I think publicity and branding work hand in hand. That's the good news. Sometimes people do one before the other. And I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing, but I do think both are actually key to success. You need to know who you are, what your brand is. And from a publicity perspective, you need to know what your message is. And frankly, get yourself out there ASAP, even if everything isn't perfect. You know, I always tell people done is better than perfect. If you start getting interviews as a fill in the blank, whatever you do, well, guess what? Your brand will develop. I mean, here's what I really think. I think we all are evolutionary beings. You're developing, you're creating, you're expanding your offerings and brand. And guess what? You do need to review your brand and offerings consistently. You need to make sure you're on point and on track, that you've caught up with yourself, so to speak. And I think that's important. I also think it's important that you get out as much as you can in whatever form you're in right now. I don't care if you're a beginner with hardly anything. I have a woman recently, she didn't even have her website up, but I said, you know what? You're going to have them call you to get appointments scheduled. And then when you get your website up and your Calendly done and all that, great. Then you'll drive them to that. When you get your free gift, you'll drive them to that. My point is, you don't have to wait till everything's perfect. You start where you start with a step. Your first step, you drive people to however you can in the best way possible, your email, your phone, whatever. But the point is, I want you to start being seen and heard, because what happens with that is then it gives people the, possibility of actually hiring you. You're setting up the stage. Yeah. And the truth is, publicity may take 3 months to get you booked on a show. Right, Claire? We booked this show a while ago. That's the truth. And yes, you will be continually expanding. And let's just get you out with where you are right now. It's perfect.
Yeah, I do like that, because I feel like a lot of times, I know sometimes I work with clients and they get stuck in analysis paralysis. They're so fixated on are the words right? Is this right? Is this perfect? I don't know if I like the font. You're like, truthfully, no one actually cares about all those things for a personal branding perspective. And I think probably publicity as well. Are you actually giving anyone information that is useful? Are you helping anybody? Those are the things that are really going to magnetize and attract people to you, not your font.
Yes. Thank you so much for saying that. I have to tell you, when I wrote Guerrilla Publicity, which we're in our 3rd edition now, because we also keep expanding it and keeping up with everything that changes. Well, guess what? Yeah. I interviewed Entrepreneur Magazine. You know, imagine this, my friends, all of you, an entrepreneur, you want to be there. Entrepreneur Magazine. The editor said to me, she said to share with all of you that you must be giving value and benefit. She said, I don't even care how the press release looks. I just want value and benefit for my readers. So you got to remember, when you're listening to podcasts and watching or listening to TV, whatever it is you're doing, right? All the media wants is for you to give value and benefit. And I think that's really important.
It really, one of the things that I always say is your personal brand is not for you. It's for your audience, and the fact that if you're actually helping people. And that I think is a big thing when you have egos involved, because they want to know, am I going to get leads? Am I going to make money? What is the ROI and all these things? But you literally, when you're sitting here, like in the podcast or in an interview, you have to, just those thoughts need to come out of they need to leave the room, because if they don't, it'll show up and it'll not be a good interview. And quite frankly, you probably know this too, or dealt with this. You don't have to publish an interview or a podcast if it's really awful. So keep those remember those messaging, and it's not a done deal. It's not a guarantee. Have you had that happen where someone was just so awful that they didn't publicize it.
You mean so boring? That's
Yeah.
what I would call it, that you're so boring. I mean, you've got to watch your energy. That's always what I'm big on. Your intonations, your excitement. Make sure people are attracted to you. And yes, there was a gentleman I worked with who had written a self-published fiction book, and the book was really good, and he was really interesting. I mean, meaning he owned an insurance company. He was a successful person. But he had this monotone voice that was absolutely boring. And I said to him, you are not doing any radio interviews, any TV interviews. You can do magazines, newspapers, you can write blogs, you can do that, but you cannot go on air. Because I knew they'd kick him out, or that he just wouldn't hold the energy. So that is something, for all of you. Listen, a major media interview, like, any of the ABC, NBC, et cetera, they're 4 minutes long on TV. Typically, that's an average. It might even be less. It might be just a tiny bit more. My one client was on Good Day LA, where you're out of, and she got 8 minutes, but that's because she's good and dynamic and a dancer and knows how to work with energy, right? So I just say that to all of you because, when you're in an interview, it is your responsibility not only to do your message well, but also to manage your energy and to make sure that people feel that excitement from you, no matter what you're talking about. Yeah.